Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF44 coming at you with another video. Um, I got some not so bad news at all for Laker fans. Honestly, it's not so uncommon news either. But the Los Angeles Lakers and Russell Westbrook are expected to part ways this offseason, and it is presumed to be mutual. Both parties are expected to want this. Um, Honestly, I know you guys already know this. I know we've already talked about this, but I just wanted the excuse to talk about the Lakers because I just wanted to talk. So here we are. But yeah, that's the news, and I don't think I've given too much thought to where Russell Westbrook can go still because I don't know that I know that there's anywhere he really fits. The Russell Westbrook that he was this season is unplayable. I don't think anybody's gonna argue that. I think over the last 6 games, however, he's turned into a very serviceable vet for this team. Um, Having shaken off a lot of his, I guess you could say, fumbling and turnover types of mistakes, and it's kind of becoming much better half court and slow it down kind of player. Now, don't get it twisted. If we're talking about a range here, from 1% to 100%, he's improved about 25%. We have a very long way to go before he's the player you want him to be in those situations. But what I'm saying is, after a long, drawn out, and horrible season, the improvement has been noticeable over the last, say, 6 or 7 games. And I think that could carry forward greatly for him into his next situation because I don't think he's going to ever find a fit that's more awkward. And I don't think he'll ever be um, as he was. I don't think he'll ever be as clueless as he looked in the offense that he was in. Um, I think Russell Westbrook has always been a player who's played well with big men, as we've talked about a lot on this channel. I've suggested that he be reunited with Steven Adams. I suggested that we get him some type of center of some sort because he doesn't seem to flourish at all without a center, and defense tends to break down just in general when you don't have defensive guards out there with big enough rim protectors and rebounders. So the Lakers defense, though horrible due to the fact that he was a non-defensive player, but that wasn't just the only reason why he was so ineffective defensively. It wasn't because he's simply just deficient, and that's the end of the thought. So I don't think he'll ever be in a situation where he'll be lacking that type of size on the floor with himself and that type of lack of help on the defensive end. So what this does, I think, also is put him in a position to kind of transition, like so many other vets have had to. It's kind of transition in a way that kind of that's not the word. Disarms him from being in denial about where he's going in his career. I think this season really made him understand that going forward, he's going to have to either accept a bench role, or a more humble role, maybe not off the bench, but maybe less minutes or a lesser role, or he's going to run into the Iverson effect, where they're just going to blackball him out the league. I see it coming. So he's going to have to humble himself mighty well, and I hope that it doesn't be an issue for him to do so. I think anywhere is better than where this was. I ain't gonna say anywhere is better than here because I'm a Laker fan. I love my city. I love my team. But this season for the Lakers was probably a nightmare for everybody involved, and I don't really blame anybody for wanting out right now. And I don't blame Laker fans for wanting to clean house either, because I'm one of those people who feel that way. I just think they would just leave a bad taste in everybody's mouth. It's the most disappointing season, that we can remember, and you can look at it and say, well, next season we can build something totally different that's much more catered to those players, and because of the mistakes that they made building, they're probably going to build something better than they would have even beforehand. But then where's the faith that that's actually the case? You know what I mean? So as far as Russell Westbrook wanting to leave and being excited about getting up out of here, I do not have a problem with that. I don't blame him. I would probably feel the same way. Probably would. Now, where is he going to end up? Again, I don't think there are too many places that the Westbrook that we saw fit. But there are some places that would be considering maybe taking him on and then buying him out. And the Houston Rockets are, of course, the one that that looks the most reasonable. John Wall for Russell Westbrook trade will probably be on the table. I do not believe the Lakers are going to part ways with the 27 pick to move on from Westbrook. And I don't know that the Houston Rockets are going to stay firm on that price tag, because at the end of the day, some time has passed off of that contract and now it's worth something different because of it. So I don't think they can get a first round pick for it this offseason for sure if they couldn't get it at the deadline. So I think they'll revisit that trade and probably pull it off. I really do. If they can't get a deal for either of those players, then trading them for each other just makes all the sense in the world, and then the Rockets can just either play Russell Westbrook for a season and then that'll be it, or they can stretch him out and it won't be much because he expires anyway. Which is another thing that doesn't really get talked about enough, I guess, as it pertains to moving on from Russell Westbrook and the urgency to do so. Obviously, the urgency from a mental standpoint on both sides, everybody wants to move on, blah, 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 we get that. But I think there's two, and also a part to understand where even though it's a $47 million contract, it is expiring, and at the end of the day, that's $47 coming off your books the next season if you can't get it off this season. So the urgency to get rid of it, I don't think is as serious from a building team standpoint as people think it is. It's more so serious from a competing next season standpoint and how they build next season's roster. And as you guys know, I don't think like that. I think more so further out. I'm more of a 3, 4, 5 years down the road kind of guy, and what kind of moves are we making to make ourselves okay by then? Because if we're not playing for a championship now, for which I don't believe we are, then there's no reason to even be talking about salvaging this, which is what I always feel like. So that's how I look at it. I don't think the Lakers should be really thinking about how best to utilize this trio anymore. I think it's time to move on from it. And so I'm curious to see where LeBron's head is heading into this offseason. I think we're at a crossroads. I do. I think he's in between a rock and a hard place personally, because Russell's about to leave. I think we just saw what Anthony Davis, is going to be. And I hate to put that on AD, but I just don't think you start changing your stripes in year 11, man. Now, I could be very wrong, because we're seeing players like DeMar DeRozan continue to get better. So Anthony Davis could certainly reinvent his body and be back to being AD again, which is something that isn't too crazy to think. But at the same time, we have a lot of evidence to the contrary. And I think that evidence is something that LeBron James cannot ignore. And it has nothing to do with him being able to play with AD or winning with AD or being able to get along or nothing like that. It's just about risk in terms of timeline. Risk and timeline. The risk is if he's your second best player, this could happen again. Risk is if that does happen this season, how many more seasons does Brom have to throw away? And we've already wasted 3. Lakers, we've wasted 3 years with Bron. However you slice it, however you blame whomever or whatever. 3 years, no championship. Unacceptable. And so if the Lakers are going to do anything right, they need to take a look at LeBron James and figure out if they can properly build around him in his timeline, and be real with themselves about that, be real about who they are when trying to build right now, and whether or not that front office is capable of building properly around Bron. And then he and Clutch need to go back to the drawing board and figure out if the Lakers are the franchise that they feel is best. I felt like the Lakers, and I went back and listened to some of my old videos today. I did, and what I realized that a lot of my thoughts were just centered around sentiment. Like I was accepting of Russell Westbrook because in my mind I wanted to see him come together with AD and Bron and have a chance to go up against the big 3 in Brooklyn. That was what it was about. It was a storyline. KD used to play with Westbrook. Westbrook left KD, so now Westbrook get a chance to get back at him and prove he could win a championship once. It was all storyline, freaking fluff and bullcrap, and I was buying it. I had the doubts in the back of my mind as a, what if things go wrong, but the majority of my focus was on the storylines and the sentiment. And now that this has played out, boy, do I have a different point of view and desire for everything that I'm looking for in basketball. I'm a different person as it pertains to what I wanted just 8 months ago as a Laker fan, man. This season has really changed me, and I think it's changed all of us. And I think that's the main thing that I've learned. Just listening to certain opinions, it ain't even been a year, and I literally have opposite opinions about a lot of different things as it pertains to this team and this league. And so that's the one thing that I can say I took away from that. That in this Westbrook thing, we were on board for the absolute wrong reasons. We were ignoring things that were clear as day. We were accepting of players coming onto this team because of reasons that had to do with our feelings for them. When we were talking about bringing in Trevor Ariza, I was talking about my mom, and I was talking about how I enjoyed time watching Trev. When I talked about bringing in Wayne Ellington, I was talking about how he had lost his pops here and how difficult it was, and how I was looking forward to seeing him win here. And I was thinking about Avery Bradley and how he played in 2020 and didn't get a chance to go to the bubble because of the situation with his family and how he had to make a decision to keep him out of that. It was all sentiment. None of it had to do with can he ball with him. It all had to do with, Westbrook's coming home. We get a chance to bring him home. Trading valuable pieces that we won championships with and letting people we won championships walk out the door without really any resistance. You know what I mean? This season taught us a lesson and snapped us out of a lot of bad habits. I think even as a fan base, we drank some serious humble pie this year because there ain't no part of me that wants to have anything to do with sentiment going into any other season for the rest of my entire life. If that guy can't run with that guy, I don't want to see them running together. I don't care how much they love each other. They friends. I don't care if we watched them before and they've been on this team for 100 freaking years and they returning for one last hurrah. I don't care about none of that anymore. Ever again. This season has changed me forever. If that guy don't fit with that guy, he don't need to be on this team. Period. Let it be about the numbers or the results and the structure of winning. Because if it ain't about winning and it's all about sentiment, we are going to have more situations such as these where we acquire a guy and he wants to leave and we're happy to see him go, and it's just a matter of a 8-month period. That should never ever be something we make a mistake on again. Never again. So that's one thing I also wanted to throw into this video is just, wow, man. So much had to do with putting this team together that didn't involve winning. And I'm trying to figure out this too as well. It's like, listen to people talk about the Lakers and what has gone wrong this season and how Russell Westbrook ultimately came to be here and why it's important he leaves so quickly. All of that just comes down to the Los Angeles Lakers as a franchise just not understanding that even though LeBron James came to town and brought us a championship, that the habits that they have as a franchise and the ways that they operate had not improved. They just brought a great player to the situation, and because of it, we're able to get another great player into the situation. And they put together something really special for one single year, and we won a championship, and it was great. But everything else that they've done around that, before and after, leaves so much to be desired, man. So much. To a point where you have a guy like Russell Westbrook come here, play horrible, be from LA, and then be ready to leave 8 months later. After probably trying to get here his whole career. It's just wow how that kind of plays out, man. So, I just wanted to throw that out there, man. We've learned a lot, Laker fans. We've learned a lot. And one thing that I definitely can say I learned is how Russell Westbrook is not the player that I thought he was, man. Listening to my old talk, I thought he was somebody who over-dribbled. I didn't mention much about his turnovers. I did mention missed shots, but did not recognize him to be a player that turned the ball over as much as he did. I didn't put enough of an emphasis on the fact that we didn't have enough defense down there and size down there, even though I mentioned it quite a bit. It's just a lot of stuff. You'd be like, man, we've learned, but I don't think we can build with this trio. Even though we made mistakes, I don't think that retooling this bunch is ever going to be able to win. I just don't. So we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. I don't know that the Lakers will be able to get rid of Russell Westbrook either. I don't know that. He's definitely opting in. That there's never going to be a question of whether or not he's going to be able to make that kind of money. So he's going to have to opt in, and I don't think he should get cute about that. I don't think he should get cute about that. You know, a lot of times in situations like these, sometimes athletes, they'll be like, I don't need the money. I want to get out of here. It's about sentiment. I got $200 million. I don't think Russell should do that at all. I don't think he should do that. Because one thing we know about NBA checks is they stop coming. And I don't care how much money you have, you always should maximize as much as you can get from the NBA. Because you never get those opportunities again. You know what I mean? So get the big bag, keep the big bag, and then let the owners sort out what happens after that. But always sign that check. I really believe that. So that's what I got to say, man. That's pretty much it. BDF 44. Thank you all for watching.